Aloha, gang. Here we are on Kauai at the beautiful Menehune Fish Pond. This Menehune Fish Pond has a lot of legend about it. They call it the invisible hands that built the fish pond. They said that they came back one day and the fish pond was built. Legend has it that the Menehune built this pond. Menehune are mythical people that lived in Hawaii long before the Hawaiians came here. My belief on the Menehune is that the Menehune were regular common people like us, shorter, 5 feet 7, 5 feet 8. If you were pure Hawaiian, of the old Hawaiians that came to Hawaii, they were on an average 6'6", 6'10", sometimes as tall as 7 feet. Some of the tallest Hawaiians were known to be 7'6". So they were large people. Anything shorter than them were Menehunes. They said the Menehune built this pond overnight. Menehune Fish Pond. There's a supernatural brother and sister that take form in this pond. One becomes a shark and one becomes a mo'o, or a lizard. And that's kind of a legend here in this fish pond right here. But it's on the beautiful Lihue side of Kauai. Once again, you can see Kauai is also called the Garden Isle, but look how green and lush and beautiful the island of Kauai is. These beautiful mountain peaks that lean back against us. Look right here. This is going towards the south or facing towards the south side west. So southwest side of the island. You can hear the chickens crowing in the background. One thing about Kauai, we got a lot of chickens, wild chickens. Right there, you hear I'm talking? A lot of wild chickens everywhere. A bunch of chickens. In this pond, you'll have, there are probably different kinds of fishes, but the fishes that were, they say that the royalty at one time kept this pond and that you could eat out of it. Only the royalty could eat out of it. One of the fish is the mullet. The mullet is a really good white meat fish, and we would steam it and we'd eat it. Another one of the fish out here is ava. We call it a milk fish, but the ava itself is out here. Along the edges of the Menehune Fish Pond, you got these mangroves. These mangroves grow, and they actually have a lot of nutrition because it's both. What makes these ponds kind of significant is you have the fresh water coming down and the salt water come, and when they mix each other, they become brackish water. In brackish water, there's a lot of nutrients, and the nutrients stay up under the mangrove here, and these crabs, known as Samoan crabs, live under them, and that's where they eat. So if you put a net down in here or catch them, you'd be amazed at how big the crabs are when you pull them out of there. Believe me, you don't want to get your finger caught in their claws. If they catch your finger, say bye-bye. You're gonna be like this. Your shaka is gonna be like only like this, a thumb. You'll have no pinky for the shaka. That's just it, man. You can't even do shaka. It'd be like lame. Hey, shaka, bro. You'd have to shaka with this finger, I think. That's how your shaka would be. Aloha.
Ironically, almost all Native American tribes in the United States have legends of and beliefs in these little people. And so I wanted to do the first of the videos on our book series from the Legend of the Spirit Mound. The Yankton Sioux people believe that Spirit Mound in South Dakota is home to little people. When Lewis and Clark expedition, they passed through the region in 1804, and the Yanktons pointed it out to the explorers, warning them to stay away from it. Spirit Mound, or Pahawakan, was well known to tribes for miles around. The Yankton, the Omaha, and Oto tribes believed that the mound was occupied by little people, spirits in dwarf form, who killed any human that ventured too close. They were said to be 18 inches tall with oversized heads. Although there are other hills nearby, Spirit Mound stands out from them. Lewis called it the Hill of Little Devils in his journal. In addition to the mound, these little people also lived in the woods of the Yankton Reservation. Thomas Constantine Markakis wrote in his 2005 book, Peyote and the Yankton Sioux, The Life and Times of Sam Nicholas. These little people are described by such respected elders as Henry Hare Sr., Joe Rockboy, and Asa Pomux Rocky Boy. Said that they were the enemies of the Sioux from the time that the Sioux entered this region. Asa said that the Little People inhabit some of the woods between Choteau Creek and Greenwood, just north of the Missouri River. While we were touring the area, Asa explained that people avoided the woods even though they contained plenty of dead trees for firewood. He added that the Little People are dangerous, but that they are here for a reason. This is God's land, and you have to respect God's ways. If you follow God's ways, you can get through the woods okay, but if not, if you are a doubter, you may see one of the Little People and they will get you. Lewis and Clark may have been doubters and doubted the existence of the Little People, but they are part of the Yankton belief system. Their presence in Yankton tradition has been documented for almost 200 years. And so that's the first of our videos from a portion of our book and the presentation that we've done on the giants and little people around the world. Until next time, have a good day.
neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Maybe if I press this button. This is a cassette player with a little cassette in here, and there's nothing written on it, so we'll just have to play it to see what it is. Do you ever imagine things? Are they scary things? Are they scary things? Do you ever imagine things? Things you'd like to have? Did you ever see a cat's eyes in the dark and wonder what they were? Did you ever pretend about things like that before? Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think and they'll grow. Imagine every person that you see is somewhat different from every other person in the world. Some can do some things, some can do others. Did you ever think of the many things you've learned to do? Many things. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think and they'll grow. Did you feel like going like that? Let's give the fish some food. Mr. McFeely, I didn't order any whistles. That's what they call a slide whistle. Did you feel like going like that? There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think and they'll grow.
And so he brought them food and property, and he said, my name is Black Arrow, and the little people that live under the earth and take care of the earth, make sure that the rivers flow and the grass to grow and the trees are down there, and they're taking care of me. I'm living and I'm doing good down there, and my job is to take care of the earth, and I will take care of the Crow people as long as I am around. And the little people are my family now, and they will take care of the crows. They will be their helpers. So leave gifts at the prayer gap. Whenever you go through there, leave gifts for them so that you know that you are thinking about them, and in turn they will help you. After the other people came, some people were fasting on the prayer mountains, and some of the little people came and told them that they were moving north because the people were polluting the land, and it was not fit for them to live here anymore. And they were not mindful of the energy that was flowing here. And but I think about during the Depression, people went fasting, and they wanted some of this energy. They went fasting, and some of the little people came to them and said that they were back and that they would help them. And the people that saw them say that their leader's name is Red Fox. So that's the one we always pray to when we go up in the mountains. Not pray, but ask for guidance and for protection. They make sure that we live here where we were created for as long as there are Crow people. and that we are able to survive, that we will have the things that we need to survive, and that not too many accidents will happen to us. And that the rivers will keep flowing. Without the rivers, there will be no life. And make sure that there are plants and animals for the animals to eat. And then also they have spiritual energy that they use to protect us from everything. Here at a place called the Rock Mounds, Vichitua, and there's a row of them. The rocks are placed in a line. They're not very large. They're small in the beginning. I never counted how many there are, but they extend for about 1/4 of a mile from the Prayer Gap on top of the ridge all the way down to the lower end on the east side. And there have been a lot of conjectures about why they did these. They say that it was an offering to the what we call the Awakula, the little people that lived in this area. There's powerful things that happen here. There's energy flowing that the people were aware of. And to my right and to the south is Castle Rock. And the Crows called it Amishisanuaho. And it's translated into many fasting places. Just a little bit to north and west is a place they call where they shoot arrows into the cliffs, Mapu. And this is associated with a child that was adopted that was lost by a Crow man and a wife here a long time ago when they were packing. And he said, no, I'm one of the powerful people that live here. And he said, whenever you go by the cliff where the rock mound is, shoot arrows into the cliffs as gifts, and we will take care of you. And but you must always remember us, and the way to remember is to place gifts at the cliffs. And the Crows have been doing that ever since. They come through here and make offerings to the cliff. And in the old days, the young men used to shoot arrows into it so that this young man would be able to use these arrows. And even today, young men whose wives are about to have babies will come and ask for a male child, and they will place arrows there. And also to place rocks as you travel through the gap. And then the rocks get bigger as they approach the top of the ridge, and on top of the ridge is a huge pile. The doorway to where they live is right here behind me, and he told the people to pile rocks in it and fill it up so that other people who come will not molest it, and they will not bother the people who live inside the earth.
He's like, they didn't try to hurt me. He said, they didn't try to hurt me. He said, he was just showing me through the woods. And if they had to play a trick on you, you could have been lost out there. You couldn't have found your way out. And he was just kind of like, he still didn't kind of understand it. He was like, right. He said, are they alive now? Or he said, was it something like a ghost? And they said, no, it's just, they live out here, you know. They live in these woods. They live back in these trees, you know. Every community has different areas where they see things. One of them is they see them by springs, like a freshwater spring out of the ground. They say if you ever find a spring, you know, just get your water and go. Get your water, do what you got, wash your face, get your water, make an offering, get some fresh water out of Mother Earth, and go. You're not supposed to hang around there. It's not for you to hang around. So you just go, because those little people and a couple other people protect that. They protect those spots. They're not for people to abuse and overuse. So they come back around if you stay there too long. So that's what they say. They're kind of around those areas. So it's pretty amazing, because some of the tribes have similar stories and similar beliefs. And that's what I've heard. That's what I've seen and experienced myself. So I thought it was kind of cool because he wasn't Native American, even though he was South American. You know, he described what he saw, and it was something that a lot of people who've seen, you know, these little people, kind of similar descriptions, you know, of what they saw and what they did, you know, how they acted and what they were wearing, you know. So, you know, they could be 1,000 years old, or, you know, we don't know. You know, that's the part. Like, it's those things that people can't explain doesn't mean that, you know, it's not real or it's not true, you know. And one of our beliefs too is that when you try to discredit everything, or you don't believe anything, you know, you don't believe anyone's story because you didn't see it, or there's no proof, or there's no evidence, that you might see something. If you don't believe it that much, then you might see something, you know, to see if you really, is that really how you think, is that really how you feel, then they might show you something, you know. So that's one thing. We have respect for these old stories, or have respect for these beliefs that have been around for thousands of years, you know. We don't make fun of it, you know. There's a story about that, someone that made fun of those things, these spirits. They call them spirits or ghosts. They were making fun of this spirit. They said kept coming around. This person did. That spirit came back and went to that person and scared him. Followed them around and scared him till that person was like apologizing. So, you know, that's kind of how the stories that we like to share. That there's like a little teaching in there.
Could you just do the introduction? I'm not sure I got all of that. Just do the introduction.
Okay.
Of yourself.
Ready? Okay. My name is Brian Frijo. I'm from the Skeety Band of the Pawnee tribe. That's the wolf people. And I'm from the Nukatsogi of the Seminole tribe. That's the Bear Clan, my mom's side.
Woman.
No, it's a spring. Wiwila means spring. So they're men who live in a spring. And we were up the creek over here at the grandma's, and we didn't have refrigerators. So what they do is they have a crock pot about this big. That's stuff that everybody fights over. They're collector items. Well, we had those, and those went in the creek next to where the spring is, the cold water. So you could keep your butter and your meat and like that. It had to all be put in bread sacks to seal it because we didn't have plastic. So we went down there to get butter in here. I looked across the creek because I seen something move in here. The grass parted, and here a little face appeared about this big, and he was a real old man, and he was watching us. So I was looking at him too, and the other kids seen him and they said, "We will," and they ran, but he got scared of us, so the weeds closed and he took off running. So we seen him then, and then there's another spot up here where the ground is cold. So where that spring is at, if you find the spring, they're just clues if you're ever out here and looking for good water. You just carry a pipe with you, and you can put it in there, and you can make a water sprout. So there's a spot down here where we do that when we get thirsty. So it's ice cold, the ground, and then the spring comes from under, so that's where we would swim. And here I noticed that there was something happening over here, and they're called kit fox plums. They only grow about this high. And the kit fox, that's where they lay. If they're out hunting, they could eat those plums. And they're really sharp, so you don't want to get in there because they'll really scratch you up. Here I noticed something was going on, so I peeked in. And here they were little people, a little family inside there. But they turned and they looked like they just became grass. So the story of how they came to Earth was Medicine Man showed me where the beehive constellation is. He said in that area their sun died out, their proto-sun. So they came down to Earth. And how we got to know about them, and we still do that. We still practice our customs even though we're modern. I never go to the creek after dark because that's when they come out and play.
Are they dangerous?
No, they won't bother you, but they'll paralyze you. So you just can't move. But that's their time when they come out, so we don't disturb them then. And when our hand pump would break when we were kids, we'd have to get water, and I always dreaded. I made sure I was in that creek and out of there before the sun went down, because I always imagined all these little men chasing me and like pulling me in the water. Kinds of little nightmares I'd have. So I'd be running with these buckets up the hill as fast as I could. And then another time, and so I seen them there. Yeah, so anyway, that time we were playing, and I went running around the house. I heard there was a little man there. And I screamed, and he screamed, and he went that way, and I ran for the door, and everyone beat me to the door. So they made us quit playing tag after that. Or they were fair. I didn't have to always be the bear. So they come and play. And then we have little bitty ones too. We have little fairies that are about this big.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, they're fairies, and children are the ones who see them. And as we get older, I guess we probably get attached to material things, or so we lose that eyesight. But they live in the top of the teepee poles. They have a little nest there, and that's where they live. And I have twin boys and a youngest son. My twins are 24 and my youngest son is 21, and they were in a teepee in here. My youngest son said something kept stinging him in the face, so he thought it was a fly. And here he like felt something, so he opened one eye, and here he said it was a little man, all dressed in little buckskin clothes, clear down to little bitty braids, little moccasins. And he'd pick up hands full of sand, and he'd make a face and just throw it at him. So then he turned around and got some, and he was doing that to his brother's face. So his brother was flinching like that. So he said he reached over and he said, "Yeah!" and tried to grab him in here. What they do is they turn into a little stick. Just a little stick, and they take off like this. Because I seen them when I was little too. I came back from school, I was about 8 years old, and in our kitchen we had a big cook stove, and my great-grandma was, she'd get cold, it was our only heat, so she had a bed in the kitchen. And here, I thought I seen something that was red. There was a little man, but he had a little miniature red vest on. It was real tiny, and he was kind of dressed real fancy. And I remembered seeing some cloth. I think my mom, she'd always give me her cloth fabrics, and I remembered that fabric was gone. I thought, I bet he stole it. And here that little man was standing there, and he was eating fried potatoes out of that skillet. And one of these days, I'm an artist, I'm going to draw that, because I seen it. And so what I did was I opened my eyes real big, and here he seen my eyes open, and that's what he did. He turned into a little stick and he flew out. So, so I had a real wonderful little child world. Got to see all kinds. We didn't have TV, so all these spirits would come entertain us. And then there's one that's as big as an inch, and that one doctored me. I was real sick. I had an operation and I was real sick, so my back hurted. I put my mattress on the floor, and I had pink concho earrings on. And here my earring fell off, and I remembered really having a bad fever and sweating. And here I kept feeling the wind, like an oscillating house fan. And I heard a man singing, but it sounded like he was real far away. And then I'd feel that fan. So I opened my eyes, and here on my earring was a little bitty man. And when he'd go like this with his little fan, eagle feathers, he'd make this big wind, and he was cooling me off. So the next day I got up, I was well. Nothing around this. Pain was gone. So I have a lot to be grateful for.